I woke up one Sunday morning, rolling over to gaze at my wife of 5 years. Rose woke up too, pulling my head toward hers and gently kissing me. Acknowledging Rose's fatigue, she mentioned that I had worn her out the previous night. I explained that my intention was to get her pregnant. Reassuringly, she wrapped her arms around me and conveyed that I would get her pregnant, asking me to be patient. We lay in bed chatting as usual, with our conversation revolving around her work. Rose was determined to secure a promotion to the regional sales management position. After a few minutes of familiar work-related discussion, I suggested she take a shower, while Rose suggested that I should shower first. She agreed with the plan for me to run out and grab one of my specialty coffees. As I headed toward the door, I realized I had forgotten my car keys and turned back. Knowing Rose kept a key to my car in her purse for emergencies, I spotted her purse on the kitchen counter. Instead of going back upstairs, I decided to retrieve the key from her purse. Digging through the clutter, I discovered a zipper on the inside. Unzipping the compartment, I found the birth control pills Rose had promised to stop taking. She had gone off birth control a couple of months ago as we were trying to start a family. Examining the package, I noticed a third of the pills were missing. Turning it over, I saw the prescription label with a date only a few weeks ago, indicating she was still on birth control. I put everything back as I found it and quietly went upstairs to get my keys without Rose hearing me. On my way to get her coffee, my mind was buzzing with thoughts. I couldn't fathom why she would lie to me about being off birth control. I was confident she wasn't having an affair because when she wasn't at work, she was with me. Her close girlfriend was the only variable, but her husband was also my best friend. I felt I knew where she was almost all the time, except during work hours. Feeling truly disappointed and under the impression that she didn't want to have kids despite seeming to try, I was lost in my thoughts. Around 4 p.m., Rose shook me out of my reverie. Observing my distant demeanor, she encouraged me to prepare, emphasizing that we were running late for dinner at Bill and Sherry's. Additionally, Bill had requested her assistance in his shop afterward. Upon arriving at their place, Bill sensed that something was amiss and asked about it. Initially, I insisted that nothing was wrong, but he persisted, claiming to know me better than I knew myself. He urged me to share my concerns. Reluctantly, I disclosed what I had discovered, that Rose had stopped taking the pill a couple of months ago. We explored potential reasons for her actions when Bill suggested the idea of hiring a private investigator. He emphasized my emotional state and noted that only a few hours had passed. He assured me that Rose wasn't having an affair. When I questioned him for evidence, he suggested, "If you're so sure she isn't, what are you afraid of? Hire a PI. Once he confirms she's not involved with someone else, you can talk to her about kids and maybe better understand why she lied about taking the pill." On Monday morning, I enlisted the services of a private investigator, a professional our company utilized for security matters and other concerns. After a conversation, the PI reassured me that it doesn't seem like Rose is having an affair based on the information I provided. He informed me that he would conduct some checks both during her work hours and off-duty. I also expressed the need to look into her medical records, as women can have unexpected issues. Despite periodic check-ins from the PI, I received no significant updates. Despite my attempts to conceal my emotions, I found myself unable to engage in closeness with Rose. Finally, on Saturday, Rose confronted me, demanding an explanation for my avoidance. Attempting to shift the blame, I accused her of lacking interest in closeness, triggering a major argument, our first significant fight. When I confided in Bill about it, he warned me that unless I changed my behavior quickly, Rose would suspect something was amiss. Taking Bill's advice to heart, I humbly sought forgiveness, attributing my actions to fear. Rose appeared puzzled but now also concerned, making me wonder if she might be having an affair for the first time. As the days passed, I struggled to maintain my sanity. Bill played a crucial role in helping me stay focused and optimistic. In the middle of the third week, I began thinking about Rose's upcoming 25th birthday and wanted to plan something special. Taking inspiration from Bill's wife, Sherry, I decided on a half-50 themed birthday party, including a walking cane cut in half and other creative elements. During a Thursday morning meeting with the PI, which I expected to last no more than 30 minutes, we ended up talking for over 2 hours. After the PI departed, I sat in a daze until the phone rang. Knowing I had met with the PI, Bill called me, and we arranged to meet. I needed a drink, a strong one, and by the time Bill joined me at the bar, I was on my third. Seeing my condition, Bill remarked, "This isn't good, is it?" The initial shock was wearing off, replaced by intense anger. As I slid the folder over for Bill to peruse, I briefed him on the condensed version of the PI's findings. Bill examined the pictures with times and dates, inquiring about the CD in the folder. I explained it was a video of Rose and her boss in an inappropriate situation. The PI had advised me to watch the video and, more importantly, listen to the dialogue. Bill called his wife and instructed her to take Rose to the movies or the mall under the guise of planning her birthday party. Sherry, enthusiastic about helping with a positive surprise for Rose, complied. Bill and I watched the CD, and it brought tears to my eyes. The PI was correct. I was genuinely surprised by Rose's motive for being with her boss. She was pursuing the promotion she had discussed for months. We sat in silence, simply asking if we wanted another drink. After a while, I confided in Bill, expressing that if Rose had come to me and confessed to falling in love with her boss or needing more satisfaction than she was getting from me, I felt I could handle it. While I acknowledged I would be hurt and disappointed, the idea of witnessing my wife with her boss just to secure a promotion went beyond mere hurt. I conveyed that I was not only hurt but also furious, and I made it clear that Rose would feel the full extent of my anger. Bill then remarked that observing Rose and her boss was like seeing her physically there but emotionally absent. He noted that regardless, she had prioritized her job over our marriage, and now she would have to live with that choice. Handing me my drink, Bill added that the girls would be home soon and asked if I knew what I was going to do. I responded, stating that I believed I knew what to do. Looking up at Bill, I continued by sharing that next Monday was Rose's birthday, and I was determined to give her a surprised birthday party she would never forget. Acknowledging the need to act fast, I mentioned that I would require Bill's help and proposed involving Sherry if that was acceptable to him. Bill agreed, stating that Sherry and Rose were close, assuring me that Sherry wouldn't do anything to hurt Rose. He clarified that Sherry wouldn't be involved for that purpose. However, he noted that Sherry knew all the people to invite, and he emphasized the importance of my presence at the party to help execute his plan. Feigning more intoxication than I was, I successfully avoided Rose when the girls returned home. The next workday, I consulted with a computer-savvy colleague in the shipping department, detailing my requirements for pictures and a video, which he assured me he could easily create. I called Sherry and shared with her that I planned to use her idea but wanted the party to be a surprise. I suggested having it on Sunday afternoon around 3 p.m. and asked for her assistance. Sherry enthusiastically agreed. I instructed her to contact all the people for the party and mentioned that she would need to get Rose out of the house on Sunday for a few hours. Just before we hung up, I told her I would inform Rose's parents. Next, I went over to Rose's work, asking her to lunch, which she told me she couldn't do as she had a meeting. That was fine because the reason I went there was to invite her boss to her birthday party. I informed him about a surprise birthday party I was planning for her and expressed that it would be great if he could attend. I suggested bringing his wife, adding that it would be a fun gathering. I expressed my hope that he could come and requested that, if possible, he park at the grade school. This way, when Rose's friend brought her home, she wouldn't see all the cars. I mentioned that a friend of mine would be escorting the guests from the school to my house and emphasized that it would be a fun event. I concluded by expressing my hope that he could make it. After work, I went to Rose's parents' house, telling them my idea for the birthday party. Rose's mom gathered some pictures of Rose from childbirth up to our wedding. Later that night, I went to the computer guy's house. I showed him everything I had and gave him my idea of how I wanted the evening to go. He didn't say much, but after listening to me, he suggested a different approach, which would have a more significant impact on everyone. I liked what he suggested, and after agreeing to his idea, he told me he would have it done and ready for me by Saturday. On Wednesday, I went to a lawyer's office and initiated divorce proceedings, with the reason being infidelity. Additionally, the attorney suggested pursuing legal action against her boss and the company they worked for, expressing confidence in obtaining compensation from Rose's company. On Friday evening, I had Bill sitting across the table from me. I commented that when you think things can't get worse, they seem to find a way. Bill asked me in response what I meant. Well, Wednesday when I went to see the attorney, I spent more time there than I thought I would. When I left the attorney's office, my mind was filled with my marriage problems, causing me to forget to go back to work and send off the bid for a job. The company lost out on the job, so today they suspended me for 30 days without pay. If it weren't for my boss, who knows that my marriage is going down the tubes, I would have been fired. My boss, though, wants me far away from Rose and this mess so I can get my head screwed back on. He gave me his timeshare that he has in Mexico to use, telling me that if I want to keep my job, I'll be in Mexico no later than Wednesday. Bill inquired if I was going. I replied affirmatively, expressing that I couldn't afford to lose this job. I suggested we proceed with discussing the details and potential scenarios at Rose's surprise birthday party. I explained how the pictures were going to be displayed and also how I hoped the evening would go once I started the picture event. Bill was to ensure that Rose's boss didn't get away, as I wanted him to see the entire show. I also told Bill that the person playing the bartender would also be serving the divorce papers to Rose and papers to her boss. Arriving home, Rose was upset and demanded to know my whereabouts. I explained that I was with Bill. She dismissed it, saying it was no big deal. However, she disagreed, arguing that it was a big deal because she had come home early with great news and I wasn't there. Rose accused me of excessive drinking and avoidance, stating that it seemed like I had a girlfriend. My face turned red, fueled by anger. Seeing my reaction, Rose appeared concerned. How could she accuse me of having a girlfriend while she pursued a job promotion by being involved with her boss? On the verge of losing my temper, Bill's voice echoed in my head, prompting me to apologize, deny having a girlfriend, and inquire about the good news. She shared with great excitement that she got the promotion, and starting next month, she would be the new regional sales manager. Rose expressed her joy by jumping up and down, then running into my arms and hugging me tightly, surprising me again when I didn't think she could. With her arms still around me, hugging me tight, Rose conveyed, "Now we'll get that baby we want." Pushing her back to arm's length, I inquired about the meaning behind her words. Rose promptly nestled herself back into my chest and conveyed that our luck was changing, expressing a sense that things were going our way. She shared the news of her promotion and professed her love, confidently anticipating that I would be the one to make her pregnant. Following that, she looked up at me and sought confirmation about my desire for a baby. Rose, seeing the tears in my eyes, thought they were because of the baby, when in fact, the tears were because I was soon going to lose the only woman I have ever been in love with. Grabbing me by the hand, Rose led me to the bedroom. We climaxed together. Rose expressed a desire for closeness again on Saturday morning, and I complied, although my involvement was perfunctory. While I was in the shower, Rose entered with a concerned expression and inquired about any concerns bothering me. She conveyed surprise at her recent inability to outlast me in lovemaking. In response, I encouraged her not to dismiss the possibility that something might be wrong. I pointed out my altered behavior over the past few weeks and the excessive consumption of drinks. Swiftly changing the subject, I admitted feeling responsible for our inability to conceive, suggesting a potential issue with my body. I proposed the idea of seeking medical advice, considering she had been off the pill for several months. Looking at her, I mentioned, maybe there is something wrong with my body, and I should see a doctor. After all, you have been off the pill for several months now, right? Rose took hold of me and, without directly addressing my question, proceeded to provide a significant pep talk, emphasizing that I was placing too much pressure on myself. She also said that now she has gotten her promotion at work, she too will be more relaxed, and even though she just can't explain it, she knows that I'll get her knocked up very soon. I thought to myself, I bet you could explain it if you wanted to. Saturday night, Rose wanted lovemaking again, but this time I did too. It would be the last time for us, so I gave her all I had. I think, though, she could tell that there was very little emotion on my part. It was just lovemaking. Sunday morning came, and I wasn't as nervous as I thought I would be. While Rose was taking a shower, I called Sherry, asking if she had a plan to get Rose out of the house. Sherry assured me that she did and told me she was proud of me for throwing this party for Rose, as she knew Rose would always remember it. I nearly chuckled, thinking she'd remember this for quite some time. When Rose descended the stairs, I inquired about her plans for the day. Why, she asked. I explained that Bill had called, needing my help with Sherry's honey-do list. Rose responded, great, as Sherry had planned breakfast for the four of us, followed by helping her choose bedroom drapes. At 3:10, Sherry followed Rose into our house, with everyone shouting, surprise. Rose, greatly surprised, approached me with a big hug, thanking me as she had no clue about the birthday party. Scanning the guests, I heard Rose ask Sherry if she invited her boss. Sherry's negative response brought back that worried look on Rose's face. With my two key people in place, the party kicked off with people laughing and mingling. I waited for almost 2 hours to ensure everyone had food, mostly lots of booze. With Bill's help, we gathered everyone in the living room, preparing for the show of the year. Addressing everyone, I expressed gratitude for their presence and suggested taking a look at the first half of Rose's 50th birthday before proceeding with the opening of cards and gifts. Smiling at Rose's parents, her cousin, and her boss with his wife, I gestured for everyone to be seated. Once everyone was settled, anticipation filled the room as they knew the theme of the party. Switching on the TV and my laptop, I announced, here we go. The first picture displayed Rose at 2 months old, unclothed, lying on the bed. Whistles and jeers followed my comment noting the nice spot on her. Rose blushed deeply as subsequent pictures slowly appeared on the screen. I joked or explained each picture, occasionally seeking input from her mom, resulting in teasing moments. From grade school to high school, I highlighted Rose's unwavering motivation. College pictures showcased her determination, including snagging me. Laughter echoed, and Rose enjoyed the show. Our wedding picture followed, with comments about my long hair. A picture of Rose's workplace appeared, then her desk, earned through promotion as the top salesperson. The next picture showed Rose's boss with his wife at our table during the moss party. Rose sat next to her boss, another employee beside her, with me absent. Rose's smile faded, replaced by a worried look. Glancing at her boss, who also lost his smile, I suspected exchanged glances. I expressed hope that Rose's boss acknowledges her dedication, hard work, and aids her in securing the coveted regional sales manager position. As I finished, I looked directly at Rose, sensing fear as she had already revealed her promotion to me. I started the video, emphasizing Rose's hard work for the new position. More pictures followed. The video displayed an empty bed with Rose telling her boss it was the last time as per their agreement. The video transitioned to Rose on the bed with her boss between her legs. Simultaneously, her boss urged her to take certain actions if she desired the promotion. This led to gasps and some people leaving, as the video swiftly changed to depict Rose on her hands and knees with her boss behind her, holding onto her hips, engaging in a specific intimate position. During the transition, her boss expressed satisfaction, noting that with this performance, she would be promoted to vice president. The video had played for about 15 seconds, with an additional 15 seconds left showcasing 2 more positions, but chaos erupted. Rose, in a frenzy, screamed for me to turn it off, tearfully apologizing. Her boss attempted a swift exit, but my friend Bill instructed him to stay put. A punch to the jaw from Bill left her boss seated when he tried to push past. My ally shouted the boss's name, and when the foolish person responded, he was served legal papers tossed into his lap. Sherry, attempting to console Rose, missed the boss's wife approaching. Seizing Sherry by the hair, she shoved her, causing Sherry to fall onto the couch where they were seated. As Sherry fell, she pulled on Rose's arm, turning her to face the boss's wife. While insulting my wife, the boss's wife landed a right hook on Rose's cheekbone. Rose was propelled backward, landing on her side. Sherry leaped up, yelling as she grabbed the boss's wife. Bill swiftly approached the women, and when Sherry was shoved again, Bill caught her before she hit the floor. I hurried over to intervene, but with Rose on the ground and Bill holding Sherry, I thought the worst was over. The boss's wife turned, looking at Rose and hurling insults. Rose, now on her hands and knees, reached over to place her hand on the ottoman, slowly lifting her knee and attempting to stand. Rose tried to stand, but her head was still spinning from the punch. This left her back toward the boss's wife, with her legs about a foot apart. I reached Rose to help her up and ensure she didn't get hit again. Turning my head to check the boss's wife's location, I saw her take a full step toward my wife. Then, like an NFL punter, she kicked Rose squarely between her legs just as I put my hand on Rose's arm. I felt the impact rock her entire body. If the boss's wife were punting a football, it would have easily gone 40 yards. Rose's body went 2 feet up and 3 feet forward. Rose let out a scream louder than I had ever heard. Landing on top of the ottoman and bouncing off, she fell onto her side. Rose screamed from the moment she was kicked until she finally landed on the carpet. Once on the carpet, Rose's knees came up to her chest, hands between her legs, crying harder than I had ever heard anyone cry. Bill seized the boss's wife by the back of the neck, pulling her out of the house and directing her and her husband to leave. As Bill forced her out, the boss's wife shouted that a particular circumstance wouldn't lead to a promotion now. Sherry hurried over, kneeling down to assist Rose and shouting at me to step back. Disregarding Sherry, I approached Rose's side, reassuring her that I had not intended for anyone to harm her. Rose was in so much pain that I knew she didn't hear me. Then, looking down, I saw blood seeping into her cotton pants. I grabbed Sherry to get her attention, pointing to the blood. Sherry quickly told me to call an ambulance. I didn't ride with Rose in the ambulance, but instead took my car. I hadn't planned on this physical assault, nor had I wanted Rose physically hurt. I wasn't sure what I was going to do at this time. Bill, Sherry, and I were in the waiting room when the emergency doctor came to talk to us. He informed me that Rose was going in for surgery as soon as the specialist arrived. He asked me what happened, and I told him that she was kicked in the groin by another woman. After a few more questions, he asked me if I wanted to see her, which I declined. A few hours later, the operating doctor approached me to provide an update. They mentioned having never seen an injury like this, explaining that the impact had struck her at the base of her clitoral area, causing the tissue to explode in 3 directions due to the force. The doctor stated that they had repaired everything but expressed concern about her clitoral area. They conveyed that if it didn't repair itself, it could impact her ability to experience sexual pleasure. I inquired about the details, and the doctor explained that the clitoral area plays a role in stimulating women during sexual intercourse, contributing to enjoyment and aiding in achieving orgasm. They expressed concern that if the area didn't heal properly, it could make it challenging, if not impossible, for her to experience orgasm. The doctor mentioned she would be in recovery for a couple of hours, and then I could visit her. Leaving the hospital a few minutes later, Bill stayed with Sherry. We stopped for a meal, conversed for a while, and then I went home. On Monday morning, around 10 a.m., Sherry called me, asking when I would be visiting Rose. I wasn't sure, possibly tomorrow. Sherry pressed me, and I decided to hang up and turn off my phone. On Tuesday, I entered Rose's room just after lunch. Sherry gave me a disapproving look as I approached the side of Rose's bed. Without giving Rose a chance to speak, I began explaining. I admitted that I aimed to humiliate and embarrass her, wanting everyone to know that she, not me, had caused the end of our marriage. I accused her of lying about being off birth control and being unfaithful. Despite my anger, I emphasized that I never intended or desired any physical harm to befall her. I clarified that despite being extremely upset, the thought of physically hurting her never crossed my mind. I expressed hope that she would believe me. Tears streamed down Rose's face, prompting me to turn to leave. However, Rose reached out and grabbed my hand, pleading with me not to go. Rose assured me that she trusted I wouldn't harm her physically. She implored me to stay and talk with her, but I declined, stating that I couldn't. I explained that due to the emotional turmoil caused by her infidelity, my mind and heart were in disarray, leading to a significant mistake at work. While the corporate higher-ups contemplated firing me, my boss, who knew about our marital problems, intervened and prevented them from terminating my employment. As a result, I informed Rose that I would be leaving town for a month. However, I'm facing disciplinary action, and again, with my boss's assistance, I've been suspended for 30 days without pay. I have a month to address our problems and straighten out my thoughts. My boss has offered me his timeshare in Mexico and allowed me to cash out to 3 weeks of unused vacation. Sherry exclaimed that I couldn't leave Rose because she needed me. I looked at Sherry and explained that I could leave, emphasizing that I couldn't risk losing my job. I mentioned having a great teacher, pointing to Rose, who had taught me to prioritize my job over my marriage. Rose quickly interjected, expressing her apologies. Addressing Rose, I said, "There's one more thing. I'm far from finished with your boss. I will make him pay for this, and I assure you that a storm is coming for that idiot. My intention is not to bring any repercussions your way. I'm telling you this because I believe he'll throw you under the bus to save himself. The house has been cleaned, all remnants of the party disposed of. On the kitchen table, you'll find materials from the PI and divorce papers for you to sign." Speaking of divorce papers made Rose squeeze my hand hard, hoping I wouldn't be able to pull away. As tears flowed again, I said, "Rose, I left that material not to cause you more pain, but just in case you can use any of it to protect yourself from your boss. I think and I hope you get yourself a good lawyer." Well, I have to get going as I have a plane to catch. Rose insisted that she wouldn't sign the divorce papers until we had a lengthy conversation. I shook my head and conveyed to her that she still didn't understand. I asserted that she was no longer in control, emphasizing that I didn't have to do anything for her. Pulling my hand away, I added that she had messed that up. As I started to walk out, Rose shouted, pleading for me to wait. I stopped and turned toward her. With tears streaming down her face, Rose expressed her profound love for me. She asked if, upon my return, I would please meet with her. At that moment, I said, "Rose, I'll have to say no. It hurts too much just to be here with you. Maybe after I get back, I'll think differently." Bill awaited me outside the hospital to provide transportation to the airport. The ride was quiet, given that Bill was already informed about most of the details surrounding the events and my strategy concerning Rose's boss. I directed him to keep me informed of any developments related to Rose's boss, and he agreed to do so. Additionally, Bill offered to provide updates on Rose's situation. Curious, I inquired about why I would want him to keep me updated. Bill chuckled and replied, conveying that I still loved her, which I acknowledged with laughter. I admitted to loving her, but emphasized that I couldn't allow anyone to walk over me. Second story. At 32 years old, I am currently in the process of divorcing my 33-year-old wife after discovering that my 5-year-old son is not biologically mine. A couple of weeks ago, I uncovered my wife's infidelity from 6 years ago. Her sister disclosed this information during a visit to discuss the delivery of her first child. According to her sister, my wife admitted to sleeping with her best friend while intoxicated 6 years ago, expressing remorse at that time. Upon learning this, I promptly took a paternity test with my son, fearing the worst. The results, a week later, confirmed that my son is not my biological child. Strangely, I began to perceive the boy differently, more like an acquaintance than a son. Armed with evidence, I confronted my wife at night when the child was sleeping. Despite her inquiries about who told me, I maintained that it was none of her business, even though she would likely connect the dots to her sister. Initiating divorce proceedings left her devastated, despite her multiple assurances that nothing had happened with anyone else since then and claims of faithfulness in body and soul. I refrained from insulting her to avoid complications during the divorce. Despite my disbelief and blaming alcohol instead of taking responsibility in our conversation, she threatened to demand full custody of the child. Annoyed, I expressed disinterest in anything not biologically mine, allowing her to keep the child while I would keep our 2 dogs. She attempted to convince me to co-parent, asserting that I am the child's father. In anger, I exploded, yelling at her to go and take her child with her, referring to him as a fool. A week has passed since the incident. I am at home, which is in my name as a gift from my parents. She went to her parents' house with the child and has not contacted me since. My parents support my decision, and my dad believes I did the right thing by not raising someone out of my blood. I am currently seeing a therapist 3 times a week who assures me that leaving behind what causes me pain is the first step. Emotional turmoil persists. Writing here for distraction was suggested by my younger brother. My sister-in-law disclosed everything out of guilt, seeing me happy with my son while knowing he might not be mine. The revelation occurred during a moment of weakness when we visited her, causing her to break down with guilt. I harbor tremendous hatred for my wife and conflicting feelings of pain and resentment towards the child. Despite this, I am determined to move forward. I hope the divorce proceeds smoothly since we have separate finances and properties. If she seeks child support, I have proof of the child's paternity, which, according to my lawyer, should suffice in any legal process. My therapist advises against seeing either the child or my wife, emphasizing the importance of focusing on my well-being first. The child is no longer my responsibility, and accepting this reality is crucial for my emotional recovery. Update: not much of significance has occurred, but here's a brief summary. About 3 days after my post, my ex visited my house and requested entry. I went out to meet her at the door, stating firmly that she wouldn't set foot in my house while I was present. If she had anything to say, it should be at the door. She practically begged me to take her son back, acknowledging that cutting off all contact was my prerogative. She expressed that she deserved it, but raising a child alone would jeopardize her dream of becoming a notary working in public records. She's 2 years away from pursuing a vacancy in the judiciary to achieve her notary goal. I tried to explain calmly that my therapist recommended cutting off all contact with both of them and asked her to leave before I lost my composure. Despite my love for the child, I won't direct my anger at an innocent, especially one born out of her actions. I expressed this with some anger, but I never raised my voice since we were on the street, emphasizing that the child deserves better and she is currently responsible for providing that. Afterward, we talked a bit more. She resisted the urge to cry or make a scene, considering we were on the street and she values others' opinions. The last thing she asked was to at least let her see the dogs. I declined, believing it's best for them to get used to her absence. Seeing her after so much time would only make them euphoric. After that, she nodded and left. 2 days later, she called me upon receiving the divorce papers. My mistake was answering, and after about 30 minutes of yelling, I directed her to contact my civil lawyer for any questions. I then silenced her number. She hasn't come to my house or tried to call again. On the same day, I contacted a friend from my master's program and suggested going out. She accepted, and we've been going out since then. Finally, last Friday, I proposed being an exclusive couple, which she accepted. She has stayed overnight at my house for a few days already, familiar with and adoring my dogs. I appreciate this since I couldn't start something with someone who doesn't accept my pets. We are currently taking things easy. She understands the drama I am having with my ex and the child, respecting my decision. She asked if I will ever have contact with the child again. I told her maybe when he is of age to understand my decisions, but I don't expect it to interfere with my life in the future. She nodded, glad that I prioritized myself during this process. Maybe this took a little longer than I expected, but this is the summary of what happened these days. Update: well, to put it plainly, I'm now officially divorced. In my country, there's a streamlined divorce process known as a quick divorce, applicable when there are no shared assets, joint finances, or children involved. This type of divorce takes place at the municipal level, bypassing the judicial proceedings that typically include reconciliation, asset distribution, and more. As you might have guessed, the sole complication was our shared son. The matter of the paternity test arose, confirming that the child isn't mine, and my name was successfully removed from his birth certificate, leaving him with both of his mother's last names. Describing the divorce process as challenging is an understatement. My ex-wife attempted multiple times to exploit our child's mental state to lure me back, but recollecting everything that transpired helped me stay focused. Gratitude is due to my current partner, who consistently supported me. While I understand it's not my fault, hearing it from her also played a role in helping me. After numerous discussions involving our lawyers, I proposed covering half of a nanny's salary for her son while she gets her life back on track. Fortunately, she agreed to cover the remaining expenses entirely on her own. I made it clear that I wouldn't be taking care of her son, and she agreed. Being devoted to her work, adapting to single motherhood seems to have been a significant shock for her. Out of curiosity, I asked if she spoke with the child's father. She tried, and he even lived with them for 2 weeks at her parents' house, but they simply had nothing in common, leading to conflicts. She had to intervene to prevent them from shouting at each other, and after a couple of weeks, he left. While somewhat sad, she is a woman with a good job and figure. With a year of nanny assistance, she has ample time to find a suitable stepfather for her son. Meanwhile, I don't plan to talk to him yet. Perhaps in a couple of years or when he's a teenager. If the child doesn't wish to talk to me, I won't insist, understanding if he harbors resentment. Discussing the child led to her expressing hatred towards me, particularly for having a new partner quickly. I found it rude, especially since my current partner was present and I had to intervene in an argument between the two. Despite signing the divorce papers and acknowledging my help, she couldn't bear it. Throughout the conversation, I maintained a compassionate demeanor. She has always been proud of achieving everything through her merit, and my look seemed to hurt and anger her. I clarified that it was the same look as always. If she has a paranoia problem, it's not my concern. The important thing is she signed the papers, and I can finally move on with my life. For a year, I'll be paying half the minimum wage for a nanny, a fair price for peace. Despite harboring negative feelings, I accepted it and moved forward this month. Yes, I still resent her, but not enough to express it directly or wish her ill. She has enough problems to deal with. I appreciate my current partner for enduring all this. More than once, I told her she didn't have to accompany me or worry about it, but she insists that my problems are hers too and that I shouldn't carry the burden alone. It has been a tremendous help in lightening my load. She also understands my reluctance to rush into marriage this year or possibly the next, and I appreciate her understanding. At least this chapter of my life is about to close without long-term consequences for me. Third story. Married for 16 years, together for 20, and parents of 3 children, I uncovered her affair by hacking her phone and reading messages. She engaged in an affair with a coworker, terminated it, and attempted to repair our marriage, unsuccessfully. Divorce was filed in October 2018. She moved out in November 2018 and promptly resumed her relationship with her affair partner. The divorce concluded in December 2019, and she remained with her affair partner until last week. Tearfully, my ex called asking if I could take the kids overnight. Concerned, I inquired about what was wrong. She replied that karma had struck her hard. Sensing something awry, she went through her affair partner's phone while he was in the shower, discovering an extensive string of explicit Facebook messages, akin to how I discovered her affair. My ex is 39, he is 52, and his new affair partner is a married 28-year-old. Now, don't get me wrong, I initially wanted to celebrate this turn of events. From the beginning, I warned her that the guy was a beast of prey. However, after hearing her out, I realized she was genuinely in love with him, and part of me felt sorry for her. Ironically, she apologized more that day than ever before for the pain she caused me, expressing remorse for the hurt I endured. Taking it with a grain of salt, I've moved on and found happiness with someone else over the last 6 months. Update: there was nearly a second instance of infidelity with the affair partner, AP, but my ex caught him before they could arrange a meeting. She has complete control over his phone, monitoring all his apps and checking his messages constantly. It sounds like a nightmare to me. My ex and the AP still have a peculiar on and off relationship. Let me delve into that a bit. Officially, they are not together, according to her, and both of their Facebook pages are listed as single. She occasionally wears his engagement ring, and I'm pretty sure she would return it, unlike her refusal with my $112,000 wedding ring. She stays at his apartment occasionally, but claims they just hang out as friends. Why? Because don't we all spend the night at our ex's place, sleep in their bed, and just hang out? I'm still amused that she thinks everyone is naive like that. Meanwhile, she had to change jobs because of her close friendship with the plant manager at her previous workplace. They were always talking, going to lunch, taking Harley rides, walks on breaks, etc. Rumors started flying, and things got messy there. Her work friend is married with 3 kids. He still visits her on occasion and takes her on a Harley ride to a movie or whatever. She was apparently caught by our teenage son kissing someone in the driveway. Our son didn't know who this person was and called me to ask. I told him to ask his mother who that was and played dumb. He was under the impression that she and the AP were still together because he was just over the day before, grilling out and mowing her lawn. Another new guy appears. She won't disclose how or where she met him. They went on 2 dates, and she didn't seem into him. They knew each other from a previous job, and he kept saying how he wanted to be with all her friends and coworkers back in the day. We were talking the other day about retirement. She knows my plan is to semi-retire in 6 years, as soon as I'm done with child support and all of my kids are 18. I plan to relocate south to a warmer climate. She gave me a sob story about how she had to raise all of our children while I built a business, and how she'll probably have to work till she's dead and never retire. That is so far from the truth. I put in just as much time, housework, and effort into our family as she did. For a few years, I did even more than her while she was out partying with her friends 4 or 5 nights a week. My response to her was, "You made your choice to leave me and go with your AP." Her facial response was glorious to see. I was her retirement plan. She now has a whopping $14,000 in her 401k for retirement, and she is in her early 40s. Even if she stays or goes back or whatever she is doing with her AP, he makes okay money, has no savings, little retirement, and doesn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. So there is some karma in that. My thought to pass on to all of you going through a divorce or on the verge of one is this: my life was torn apart from October 2018 to December 2019 when our divorce was final. Fast forward a few years to now, and I'm happier than I have ever been. I am looking to retire early and enjoy some beach time. My relationship with my kids has never been stronger or better. When things look so dark and terrible, be a good person. Don't lie or deceive. Don't try to be malicious or involve the kids between you and him or her. Keep your head up and keep walking. The farther you can walk away from the darkness, the better your life will be. Stay strong, my friends, you've got this.